This year's NBA draft is coming up, and we have several names that the press keeps giving us as firm candidates. Names like James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards, Cole Anthony, and the ever-present LaMelo Ball. No one can deny that all of them have earned their place and respect in the league based on their own efforts. That is out of the question. But if there's one thing that bothers me, it's that at the same level, someone in this group is not up to the task of deserving the same honors. Of all the named people, the one with the best luck is probably Anthony Edwards. Wiseman, on the other hand, has not been able to demonstrate much this season due to lack of play, and LaMelo Ball has his things, which we don't think is appropriate to mention in this video because the intention is to dedicate it to those who don't deserve to be in the group today. Did you guess? Yeah, we're obviously referring to Cole Anthony. He is a player who is totally overrated by the press and by the same public in particular when it comes to the candidates for the next draft. And let's just talk about his game. So don't think it's anything personal. The level of this group of players is outstanding, but Cole doesn't make any sense. In fact, maybe he should stay in college one more year and get tougher and more professional, which is what we expect from a rising NBA star. He's got a lot of room for improvement, and that can only be done from the base, where he came from. There's no way he deserves to be in the top 8 draft candidates, or, as some risk it, in the top 5. Some media say, to talk about Cole Anthony is to make him the best recruit in North Carolina in recent times. After his time at Oak Hill Academy, when he began to make a name for himself through highlights and an internet presence, he shed a margarita of 4 universities: Georgetown, Notre Dame, Oregon, and UNC. It was the Tar Heels that finally took over the services of former NBA son Greg Anthony, who came to the NCAA after being named MVP of the Nike Hoop Summit and co-MVP of the Jordan Brand Classic before leaving high school. NBA comparisons put him in the same lineup as players like Austin Rivers, shooting low, or much brighter stars like Damian Lillard or Kyrie Irving, shooting high. He is a point guard with a fairly wide shooting range, a tireless scorer, and an athlete with an explosive, mostly vertical, attitude that makes a difference. Only time will tell what kind of player we're up against. What's wrong with them? Are they serious? We should go ahead with this video and tell them, once and for all, why Cole Anthony doesn't deserve that kind of misleading publicity. So if you feel Anthony is good right now to be a starting guard in the NBA, maybe you'll change your mind about the ending. It's true that Cole Anthony is a very explosive athlete. He's a very fast player, and he's a fast point guard. So his speed and quickness is what puts him in position to score with the ball. He has a big first step that allows him to hit opponents with ease. Sometimes, once he hits a defender, he uses his explosiveness to attack and maneuver to end up on the edge. He also has the decent body control to end up in the paint sometimes. Despite being a smaller point guard, he can also do some impressive dunking. For example, one thing we can't criticize Cole Anthony for is his delivery and heart for the game. He is very ambitious at both ends of the court and can be said to love the game of basketball at every level. He is very comfortable with the ball in his hands and is creative with it. He takes advantage of his speed and has very good handling to get to the hoop, showing himself to be an upright player who makes decisions constantly. He prides himself on locking up the guards on the opposite end, but even if he has to fight through the screens, he will make an effort to make it difficult for the opposing team's offense to score with the ball. He has the speed to keep up with the opposing bases and had an interesting steal rate in his only UNC campaign. He is even capable of surpassing with good covers and rotations to protect the hoop. Anthony has good height for his base position and is an electric player, with very good speed and quite explosive. Offensively, he is very resourceful and projects himself as a prolific scorer. Not just any player averages 18.5 points in his rookie season at a North Carolina level. In fact, from 1992 to this point, the only one who surpassed his average was Tyler Hansbrough with 18.7. That's just a quick look at why he does very well on the court. But don't be fooled by the media, who show all this partiality by displaying him as a star. No one is saying that he can't become one if he continues to work on his game. Who knows how athletic he can become? But that's not what you see today. Now let's look at his weaknesses and why we think he's overrated, and why we don't think Cole Anthony is ready to be under the lights of the NBA. Do you really think Cole is 6 feet tall? If we're talking about overrated, we think to give him more height than he actually has is very enlightening. We can't go measure him in the locker room, but please note that it's not credible that he's 6 feet tall. He's 5 and a bit more, but it still doesn't seem like much for an NBA star, especially if he doesn't show an impressive jump or at least consistent one that compensates for the lack lack of height. Obviously, some will point out that players like Trae, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, or Ja Morant are small and belong to the league, but they have shown that this was not an impediment to play, as they have always done. Cole, on the other hand, is not a strong shot, nor is he a three-man, nor does he prove to be too skillful to end up in the paint. We've seen him in college games fighting to shoot and end up in the paint. So why should we think he'll improve on the NBA courts? And beyond his height, Anthony's physical profile is not the best, especially in terms of arm range, having one of the worst height-to-length ratios in the 2020 draft. At the same time, he is faster than a powerful player, which is reflected in his bad percentages as a finisher. According to Hoop Math, he scored only 53% of his attempts at the hoop, while his 40% in mid-range is bad. This is the lowest of the 87 players who scored at least 18 points in the NCAA 2019 to 2020. Of course, that bad performance must not only be linked to problems in defining. His shooting selection is not at all good. He abuses long mid-range shoots and forces shots without much sense early in the possessions. His 15.7 shots were the third highest number among rookies, just below the 15.8 of the number 1 draft potential, Anthony Edwards. In turn, that weak game reading also impacts his contribution as a game generator. Anthony is far from standing out as a passer, and his assists, 88, versus turnovers, 77, ratio is poor. In defense, his low arm range and lack of power take away from his versatility. He is practically forced to defend bases and is going to be overtaken by stronger and more explosive opponents. A good defender, but probably not one for impact. And if he loses his patience, he can get very wild. Sometimes he loses control and plays too fast. He is not able to slow down and use his intelligent quotient to start thinking more strategically and not as a beginner. Something similar to what happened with Tre Jones of the Duke Blue Devils. Jones had a lot of issues to work on, and he came back in his second year, and you could say he improved a lot as a general player. In his second year, he came back more mature. And that's what we think Anthony should do so he can develop his game and become a better general player. And then he could be selected in the top 3 in next year's draft. Jones also failed big at the end of the game in the same situation. There's no excuse. He wasn't playing well, and he was having crazy turnovers at key times. He didn't show up until when it mattered most, and the fact that he led North Carolina to a record of 14-19 was embarrassing. You can't be the number 1 point guard in the country, have one of the best coaches, and lead the team to a 14-19 record. And the more we think about it, the more we think it's unfair that he's being named as one of the top candidates and that the scouts are talking about exceptional playmaking and blah blah blah. No, there really isn't an elite game in the hands of Cole Anthony for the draft. He even averages more rebounds than assists, and we don't know whether to look at that as a good thing or a bad thing. If I had a point guard on my team, I don't want him to do the dirty work. I want him to create for others and to provide more assists than rebounds for the team. So we have to ask again, do you think Cole Anthony can be the starting point for an NBA franchise? We hope you have a very clear answer, more than us if possible. We hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave us a like below and smash the bell icon to get notified of when we post new videos. Check out these videos.